got people who can speak. I can speak a little Aramaic, but no, for real. Like, there are actually a few people out there who can speak fluent Aramaic and in Maine, and nobody even knows who they are. That's who I think Maine's Illuminati actually are. I actually believe that. I don't think it's true, but I would actually believe that if it were. Another thing, we have a long list of encounters with witches and warlocks and celestial mages and stuff like that, celestial wizards and stuff like that. And the reason for this is because most of the people who were condemned at Salem ended up running up north to get away from the fucking southern Cretans. But yeah, no, for real. We ended up moving out north after a long time, and a few settled in Maine. And I know my family did at some point, and like, yeah. Some of us, however, ended up settling in like Texas and other Louisiana and stuff like that, and ended up building a hoodoo community out of that. But yeah, in Maine, we have a lot of spiritual, supernatural shit going on. We do. Not only does Maine have a few different places in its just the state where it has magnetic polarity wells where you can't just deny the fact that you can hook a circuit up to the dirt and get electricity. Yeah, I actually believe that ancient civilizations had electricity, and the reason I believe this is because Atlantis wasn't known as the most powerful empire on Pangaea for nothing, because they had possibly some form of energy storage, just like the Egyptians used the fucking pyramids of Giza as a source of water aqueduct to create wells of magnetic energy in the sand, just like in Skinwalker Ranch. According to scientists, there are wells of this stuff, this magnetic substance that comes from an underground waterway that you can't just disturb, otherwise you're going to sink the whole fucking area. And this does happen in forms of stone. This happens in sand, dirt, earth, soil, and a lot of other stuff. This happens around the United States and almost nowhere else. May I remind you, nowhere else except certain places like Giza have this. Okay, so the oldest remaining known civilization ruins have these things, and even some places that have been since updated and upscaled into modern society have these things, these wells of magnetic energy that come with electricity in the ground. Maine has such things too. And it's funny, I actually grew up on one of the most popular Halloween streets, or the second most pleasant place to live in Waterville, Maine. And on the second best street in Waterville, Maine, we lived on a nexus that was actually working in between the river, the Messalonskee River, and the forest woodland that was, again, just over to the west. And then on that street, at least, where I lived. This is when I lived with my mom at this point, but I don't anymore. We also had it connected to two other elemental well springs that were nearby. So it's amazing to me how it's weird, because as a child I felt very awkward at home. Not that like my parents made me feel awkward, or like my peers, or no, it wasn't like that, because I'm not the guy who gets picked on. The people who do pick on me on the internet are just losers who don't know any better. And I really believe that. But we do have Wendigo, we have other types of spirits like that as well that exist somewhere among the trees, and they're very reclusive. They don't like people. They don't come out to say hi to us, just like Sasquatch is real. I believe that 100%. Bigfoot is definitely real. We have them up in Maine since we're closer to the Appalachian than anything else. And what else? We also have things like the jackalope. Do you know what that is? That's a rabbit that has this rare disorder that causes it to grow horns out of its skull as a form of sickness that it carries. A jackalope is a very rabid bunny, a very big rabid bunny. And that's just what a jackalope is. But it's not like they're magical or anything, but they are a special paranormal creature that has been explained later by science. And yet, these things did factually exist in large quantities at some point, because this illness was more prominent then than it is today. Now, I want you to keep in mind, with these things that exist in Maine, You never see them. You never will. I've gone looking. I've traveled around Maine with different philanthropists and and cryptozoologists and stuff like that from Colby, and that's a college up here that I went to. But yeah, so like we can go out and look for these things. It doesn't mean we're gonna find it. But the point is that these things are so few in number, and they stay that way. They don't just build up a horde. No, they're not like bugs. They don't produce massive hordes in 5 days. They don't do that. In fact, they stay to like 1 or 2, maybe per mountain range, if that. You know, like that's how rare these things are now. They weren't so rare at one time, I'm sure, but they are, and they are existent today. I know people criticize, oh, Bigfoot isn't real. How come there's so much footage of it and evidence suggesting that there is? Oh, it's all been made by somebody who carved a wooden foot and stuck it in the ground. Yeah, sure, maybe back in the 70s. Definitely not now. No one's interested anymore. So how do you explain that? How do you explain it if no one's doing it? You know, like, there you go. So, exactly. Y'all have no argument and are arguing a non-point just based on disbelief. I find your lack of faith rather disturbing. Praise Zelda and the Triforce. More espresso, less depresso. But no, for real, like, people actually spend a lot of time up here traveling, and actually, the youth that comes to Maine will actually say that they've spent at least some time, if they were homeless, in an abandoned building, hearing noises they could otherwise only describe as hellish. And it's true. Maine has some places like this. There are some old abandoned buildings up here that have loads of dark history to them. And I know that a lot of you like your dark secrets about this or that, or dark truth reveal, or this bad secret of the bad boy. Get over yourselves. Anyway, these spirits do in fact exist. I know that I have seen at least one Wendigo, or what you guys call a skinwalker. I've seen one underneath the Gilman Street Bridge at one point when I was like 22. So like, and then it's never been there ever since. And by the way, the fact that I'm even talking about these things with you could drag one to me, you fucking assholes. Y'all just want to watch me suffer. I hate you. But no, for real, like there's Wendigos up here, Bigfoot, jackalopes. What else? What else do we have? Oh, there's a large belief in like, I don't know if this one's up here, but I know there's a large population of Mainers that do in fact study the Mothman from down south and stuff like that, and like the Jersey Devil and stuff like that. There's a lot of people up here who think that's real. I honestly kind of believe them, because I wouldn't put it past the world to have some secret cryptid that it didn't detail in the book of wildlife, because, you know, we've only been on this earth and in America for about 600. We've only been in America for about 600 years and only on this earth for a couple million. So, or a couple thousand at this point. That's like, what, 2 centuries? And that's like a millennium? All right, so my point being that, my point being is that there's loads of history up here. There's loads of history. There's loads of paranormal stuff that happens up here. People do, in fact, travel from out of state to visit here and vacation here, as well as go ghost hunting and cryptid hunting or archaeozoology, blah, 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 you name it, is up here. And it happens in Maine. Not only do we have some of the oldest graveyards in the Northeast, we have some Indian burial grounds that you can't go on, touch, and if you even step near it, it's been yellow taped off with a caution tape saying trespass at your fucking regard. You know, like, really, they do not like that. And there are reservations up here for the natives. We have loads of ability to go talk to them as long as we're polite and respectful of their ways. And I've actually had the courtesy of meeting a few of them, and some of them actually had some really cool spiritual advice to share with me when regarding trying to reconnect to the spirit. And I gotta tell you, I won't share that with you because they do like to keep that pretty hush-hush, but there is a large scale of paranormal activity that does happen in Maine. Stay awesome and a witchy ninja. I'll see you in another lifetime.